The small details I'm going to show in this video is going to absolutely change how you see the mount position. The mount position is one of the most iconic positions in jiu-jitsu, but a lot of people actually struggle controlling it versus a much larger, stronger opponent. So I'm going to give you guys these small details that make it extremely easy to control. In addition, I'm going to share with you guys this one small major detail from the collar choke from mount that makes it basically unstoppable. So we're going to start out by understanding the control in the low mount first. A lot of people think of the high mount as the most dominant position, and there is a lot of attacks from there, but really the low mount is the first thing you should prioritize because it's the easiest to control. If you're new to doing the mount, it's very hard to get rolled or countered from here. And in my opinion, at a high level, you can launch most all of your attacks from a low mount in a very safe and effective way.
There's three main escapes you have to worry about. There's the bridge and roll, where he kind of grabs my arm and rolls me. An elbow escape, where he turns on his side and kind of forces the half guard. And then there's the kipping escape, where he kind of frames both hands on the hips, bridges me up a bit, and then kips and works his leg in, often getting to single leg X. The base defense to all three of these is going to be the exact same positioning, which makes it really easy. For him to elbow escape, one shoulder blade always has to come up off the mat. If he stays flat and he pushes on the leg to try to elbow escape, he can never fully do it until this comes up. So our main tool to keep the shoulder blades flat is always going to be our chest connection. I'm going to talk about the arm positioning in a second, but I just want to show if I expand my chest, almost like I'm pinching a pencil between my shoulder blades, and I drop my chest on him, if he turns to his left, then I use my chest weight to keep the shoulder blade pinned. If he was to turn to the right, I can steer my chest weight to this side. So you kind of move your chest around to keep the shoulder blades pinned. The second arm, I'm gonna kind of cross face with. Now I'm not doing like a really hard, heavy cross face with this. It's more just here for balance and positioning, and it helps block the kipping escape later. To prevent the roll, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my left hand out wide here. I use the chest pressure to prevent the elbow escape. And then from here, it's impossible to roll me to this side because I have the hand post. And then if he was to try to roll me to the other side, I'm so balanced to the left side, it's really hard to bridge me to that side. And even more, I can open the knees up wide like this, so that if he does try to bridge and roll me to the left side, my knees catch balance here, right? So with all of those things together, it's very hard to get the bridge and roll. As far as the kipping goes, as long as, again, you start with that really low positioning, my shoulder can go under his chin here. Furthermore, this hand post, anytime I need, I can slide it up a little bit higher, and it helps drive my hip towards his hip. So now if he starts bridging up to try to push up towards that, this shoulder goes directly into his jaw. He can't really progress out of this because I have this pressure preventing me from sliding up. The main thing for preemptively setting all this is that you have to get your chest really low. If you start in this position and you're here, this seems like the same thing, but it's absolutely not. Because from this positioning, my chest cannot steer where his chest goes because my chest is too high. I want to slide my chest down really low first. When I go down here like this, see, I kind of round my back and connect the chest first. Now you see my head is even below where his head is. If you're up here, it's going to be much easier for him to work on your hips, elbow escape, start kipping and all that. Sometimes before you can set the position well, they end up bridging and somehow they get on their side a little bit here. Once you're in this position, it's hard to keep the knee down here because there's the danger of the elbow escape with this leg coming over and pulling your leg in. So if they do get a good side position, it's pretty safe to bring this heel up and kind of shoot your left knee under their shoulder here, because when they bring their shoulder up, this knee will always be able to come under because it's up. From here, their main escape is to push on your leg and try to get back in half guard. The first thing I look to do is get control of this sleeve. Once I get this, I can feed it to the other hand, and now I grab the elbow and sometimes even get underneath here, but I want to like pull them back to flat. Once I get them back to flat, I can start dropping my chest weight down again, and now I can come back into the same style of control mechanics. Once I get centered, or even if they get on their side, I generally want to keep the flat of my instep on the mat. When you're like this, it's easier for them to use this leg to hook to drag your foot into half guard. But when you're flush, even if they get on their side and they use that foot over to pull the foot in, it's much harder to drag because there's no space, and it buys you more time to try to peel this up and pull them back in.
So now that we understand the basics of control, we're going to start off with the first attack, which is the Ezekiel choke. The Ezekiel choke is a very simple attack, but extremely powerful at the top black belt level, because your opponent all the time is going to get frustrated in the low mount and try to push on your hips to escape. This is going to leave their neck open, making it very easy to progress up to an Ezekiel attack.
So as he starts to go for this kipping and moving, start moving here, like this, see, I have time to go in for the choke here. And what I like to do here is you can go with all 4 fingers. If you have a little bit of a tighter gi, sometimes I'll just use 3 or even 2 sometimes. But what I want to do is go inside here, and it's wide open because his hands are so preoccupied. And this is much easier when I'm low too. When I'm high, it's harder to get the position. Here it's very easy. So I'm going to go in with the fingers, and now this hand is going to snake across. And the detail I really like here is once this goes across, I slide this over. This is a detail I learned watching Lovato. I slide this over, and now, see, if I'm here, there's a little bit of gap, but it's like a paper cutter. You pull it all the way in before you close it. So what happens is, as I go across, you get a much tighter bite here, and now I can just drive through and posture up to finish or stay here.
Also guys, a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to leave a comment to help support the channel, and also to let me know if you have any good ideas to help make the content better. So like all attacks in jiu-jitsu, we don't want to try to force one technique. Often what will happen is when you're in the low mount and you start hitting your opponent with Ezekiels, they'll start bringing their hands up to defend the choke. This is going to make it a lot easier to start scooping their elbows and locking their elbows over the head. Once you lock this position, you can make them absolutely miserable, as well as easily transition up to arm bars, triangle chokes, and collar chokes.
So anytime I'm this low and his hand comes up to defend, it's very easy to catch this elbow. I can either grab it with the hand immediately, sometimes I scoop with the arm, but once I get it up, what I want to start doing is catching the elbow with my bicep like this. Once I get to the peak of the elbow with my bicep, I'll start looking to get this left thumb inside the collar. Now it's very hard for him to bring this back down because I'm at the peak of the lever like this. It's very hard to bring back down. So now this guy is stuck. Once I get this one, it's almost impossible to get back. I'm gonna start looking to scoop this one. He can be a little bit defensive on this one, but usually eventually I'll get this and I can slowly caterpillar my hands up or get here and I work my way up until I lock both. Once I get this position, this is a benefit in the gi. I can put both thumbs inside the collar here. I can completely lock here, and now there's no need. I don't have to come up high. I can just stay super low here like this. Now try to get your arms back down. Super uncomfortable. You can really smother the guy and make him uncomfortable here if you want, but it's very easy at any point when you're ready to transition up to go for an armbar. If he's crossing like this, he's preparing for the armbar defense, I'm always going to attack the arm that's on top. If I go for the armbar on this one, when I come up here to the S mount, he's already defending the armbar. But if I was to attack this side, there's actually no defense. Whichever side is locked up is the one I'm gonna go for. So here I'm gonna scrape this one, and now I'm gonna shoot up to a high S mount all the way to here, pinching my knees, and now I throw this leg up high under his tricep here. From here, I already have this locked, so now I can throw this over here, and it's fully locked in, and I can fall back and finish the armbar. In the case that I get this arm locked over the head, but he's actually keeping this one a little bit low, either pressing on the hip or maybe using his whole forearm down here like this, I have this arm still locked up, so this is where I'm gonna go for a triangle choke instead. I can grab this wrist and just pin it. I slide the knee up high and I throw straight over for the triangle. If this guy's a little bit more out, I could pin the wrist here like this and just bring my shin up and slowly take my time here, bring this leg over, and again, sit to the triangle. And from here, I could roll through. I could try to even finish the armbar on top, but there's nothing wrong with rolling through and coming into a tight triangle finish.
And now for the most iconic submission and the most iconic position of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is the cross choke from mount. In my opinion, this is the most dominant submission in Jiu-Jitsu once you set it in. As your opponent starts to balance, stopping the Ezekiel choke and also not keeping their elbows so high that you can lock them over their head, they start to get into this in-between position that makes going for the collar choke the best next threat.
Our opponent is defending, but they're somewhere in between. They don't have their arms high enough that I can really scrape the elbow up, but also they're there enough that the Ezekiel is a bit tricky. That's often where I like to go for the collar choke from mount. A lot of people learn this. First off, a lot of people think you need to be in like the high mount and super postured up to go for this choke. Even if you watch Roger Gracie, most of the time he's not standing or sitting vertical, he's parallel to the opponent. In my opinion, at a lower level or even at a really high advanced level, it's almost always better to be parallel to your opponent. It's just really safe. You can't mess up that much. And you can still set this collar choke up from there. So we're here like this. So again, I'm kind of low. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and show this now is I want to peel this lapel out early. The biggest problem is as we get this in, and I'll show the details on getting this in a second, is a lot of people, they get this first grip in, and once this is in, he peels his head tight here, and then people learn stuff like using this elbow to open this to go here. But when this is really tight and he pinches his head in, it's very hard to get that lapel out of this position here, right? But what we do is by pulling this out early, right? He doesn't know that's what you're doing. So I'll be here like this, and then I peel this out, and now I come back here, right? Now it's actually hard for him to deal with these other threats and push that back in. So while I'm here, again, I'm staying low, I have the Ezekiel threat. Now when I'm ready to go for this, what I'm gonna do is I keep the collar with the left hand, and now I'm gonna pull this arm out. And even if he has his hands up defending, right, what I'm gonna do is I go in with my fist first here. This is a detail Hodger Gracie uses. I go in with the fist first here, okay? Now I'm gonna feed the grip later. And actually I don't need like this perfect super deep grip. It's just, as long as it's in there, it's pretty good, right? The second hand is gonna be the big choking arm. So once I've got this arm in, now he's defending. As long as I pin my elbow to his sternum, he cannot re-pummel his arm under this first choking arm, right? So now I'm here. Now the cool thing here is now that I've already pulled this out, even if he pinches his ear tight, like to your shoulder, yeah, see? It's still easy to grab. And all I need to do to get this, I don't need my hand. A lot of people think your hands need to be connected. Like they can be like this. The way the choke works is I'm basically just getting both wrists here, and then it's almost the same thing as the low mount. I just lay my chest, and then slowly my wrists are gonna choke him out like this. And there's no way to get push because I'm just laying on him. The difference is I'm gonna have the collar grips here, right? So I got this first guy in, this guy's already peeled out. Now I can go here. See, I'm staying low the whole time. I loop in front, and now I just lay chest to chest. And from here, there's, even if he uses his hand, I'm gonna loosen the choke, push me off here. It's just super hard. It's like my chest is laying into his neck and my hands are in the way, just slowly choking him here. So this arm is really hard to defend because it's already in with the elbow tight. So now here, sometimes he'll bring that hand up to his head, right? So here, again, this is really easy to grab. I'm just gonna grab here, and what I do is I use my wrist here, and I want to catch the fingertips. There's no way to do this one nicely. It's very mean, but it works really good. So, you know, be careful in the gym, but it is what it is. So we're here. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sit up to show this, is I'm going to scrape the tips of the finger with my wrist like this, right? So keep it really tight. So I scrape here like that, and it's gonna go all the way through here. And there's basically no way to stop that. No matter how tight he is with those fingers, you'll be able to scrape it off, right? So again, we're here low, like this. If I need to, I can switch side, pull this out, I come back to the crossface. If he ever goes back for the hip, I have the Ezekiel and stuff. Now I'm feeding this out. You can pull it out a little if you want. I go in with the fist. I wanna get inside this space here. I get my first grip. It doesn't need to be super perfect, right? Now from here, even when I stay low, I don't have to posture up, right? He gets his hand up to defend a bit. See, I go here, really easy to grab the collar. And look, see, I already start getting my wrist on the tip of the fingers there. And now I can either do it while laying down. If I want to, I can come up really quick, scrape it out of the way, lay down chest to chest, and get the nice finish there.
Be sure to leave a comment if there's any positions or ideas you'd like to see me cover in future videos.